So I just want to give a heads up before I start this discussion. I just want to let people know that I will be talking about themes of body dysmorphia, dysphoria, themes of weight loss, as well as overall discussion on body image, as well as some traces of body positivity and negativity. So if you're someone who doesn't feel comfortable with the topic of body weight on either side of the spectrum, you might want to click away, as this will be detailing a lot of personal issues such as obesity, harassment and bullying, anorexia, as well as sexualization of the human body and child abuse. Oh, and eating disorders as well as a whole, and dysphoric and dysmorphic topics of the human body. We may get graphic, and opening up about all this stuff, it can be hard as hell for someone, so I don't expect everyone to be on the same level as comfort as me during this. I am one of the many people who get up, look at themselves in the mirror, and feel alienated with who they see. If I'm not in a good headspace, or even in a good mentality, my reflection will bring me more distress and upset than it would comfort. Now, I'm not saying there hasn't been times where I do feel comfortable and happy with my skin. Sometimes I do, and I can actually look at myself in the mirror and smile, but there are many more people out there who struggle the same way I do, and they feel like their outer shell can never really fully be who they are inside. Now, from a very young age, I was a lot bigger than others. If anything, at one point I did have an incredibly fast growth spurt where I started developing as a child, where my body was just growing faster than anticipated. So doctors had to examine me for fears that I was, going through some undiagnosed reason as to why. But I was lucky enough that nothing else came of it. But it's like I grew so much as a child and then kind of just stopped. And now, as a child, I also struggled a lot with understanding what I could and couldn't eat and when, as well as how the human diet as a whole should work, because I struggled to learn and understand my surroundings for a long time. Due to the fact that I had undiagnosed ADHD, it's simply because I learned slower than others around me. So this meant that I had a little extra body weight, nothing too extreme though, just gave a little small pudge squish tummy, as the rest of it was very much muscle from walking home from school daily as a child. And I don't want to sound cynical, but then when secondary school came along into my life, not only did I struggle a lot with communication because I was selectively mute at times, and I struggled a lot with talking to people at the time because I'd already started showing symptoms of my trauma from my childhood with some not so nice things happening, and I struggled to not only speak to the people around me, but because of some of my vulnerabilities not being the society expectation of beauty, I did receive some ridicule for how I looked. And not only because I was a little bit chubby at the time, my brain just started to crash. Like, I felt like sobbing because I was a tiny bit overweight, and then my brain saw it as, oh my god, I'm obese, I'm the fattest human being to have ever lived. And some people fueled that fire by saying I was unattractive, I was ugly to look at, saying I should lose weight nearly every single day, and it just took a mental toll on me. Especially since these were people I didn't even know extremely well. My brain has had this bad habit of blocking out bad parts of my life, and sadly I barely remember anything other than the bits and pieces of school, and I kind of just think it's from all the trauma and insults and intense bullying I had for my body. Now at the time I thought it didn't affect me as much as I thought it was, but I was deadly wrong. That experience of me constantly being reminded of my body weight by my peers, and even in some cases my teachers, led me to stress eating and gaining more body weight, and then it continued the cycle, and then I kept getting worse and worse. It got to a point where I would even starve myself for periods of time just to become what I saw as skinny, because people wouldn't say stuff like eat healthier, they'd say stuff like eat less, and my mind processed it as if I were to eat nothing I wouldn't gain anything, and I'll have to use my fat and become skinny, right? And it was horrifying. It was a horrifying experience. And sometimes I do relapse into those periods where I don't eat properly, and it's a part of my depression, and it still sticks with me through every day. Just eating meals can be such a huge obstacle for me, and now even with the textures of some food, I just can't eat it, it'll make me feel sick. It was extremely overwhelming for me as a child. This didn't help though, when one of my close friends during secondary school at the time, and we'll call her Katie, well, Katie had started developing an eating disorder of her own, mainly anorexia, and at the time, started glorifying her eating disorder to everyone at the school. She had more attention from boys who wanted to date her. She thought she was pretty. Even the girls started paying more attention to her and talking to her. She constantly would talk about calories, not eating, what exercise she should do, and even going as far to thanking her eating disorder for bringing her such joy and love. It really made me sick to my stomach. I remember at the time seeing all this attention, this positivity that she was receiving, and I was thinking, I'm doing the same. I stopped eating. I'm trying to lose it, and yet I'm gaining weight still. I actually would often gain and lose pounds rapidly through this time. It was incredibly unhealthy, and sometimes I would get so bad, and even to this day, this habit of gaining and losing, it would come and bite me. Now, Katie was my friend, however. I knew her even before the eating disorder developed. I really honestly thought I could cope with that, and being her friend, well, it didn't exactly help when she nearly made a guy run into ongoing traffic. That kind of made me realize she wasn't exactly the best friend to ask for. But I remember going out on my way to go to a festival with her, and she literally constantly talked about how much she hated her body, how fat she was. And now at the time I was probably double her size, and she constantly went to say on how terrible she felt, how she was going to correct certain parts of her body, whether through starvation or surgery. And as someone who already had so much fucking negativity steaming in their soul from their own appearance, I took everything she said as, I'm fat, so I must be worse. And then she has this ugly feature of herself, I must be hideous. It would constantly compare, in my mind, I would constantly compare myself to this girl next to me, as if she was some kind of body competition. And now, granted, I would be reassuring and I didn't project my insecurities onto her. I would comfort her and let her know that I was there for her, but man, did it really hurt me inside to know that she was there and other people were there, and dear God, I was one of the fattest beings on the planet. It left me disgusted with myself. There were days I would sit down in my room, cry, think about how I could somehow cut the body fat off of me, and how people would like me afterwards if I could remove it somehow with scissors or something. This isn't something a teenager should be thinking about, and I was thinking about it. Now, with the sexualization of the body, I thought it was bad enough that the first time I got sexualized was when I was fucking 6 years old. Like, ew, I was a literal child. What the fuck, man? I also remember the time going through secondary school, and I was already developing puberty quite early. Like, I was developing breasts really early, and admittedly I didn't know how to feel about it because I kind of already loved having my smaller chest at the time, so seeing it kind of go was sad for me. But my brain even went as far to go as, these are getting bigger, does that mean people will like me, or will people say that this is fat because I'm fat? And I would be so conflicted about it. The worst thing is, instead of really understanding if I myself really enjoyed growing this way, I reflected my brain constantly to, what do people around me think of my body? As a 12-year-old girl, what do they think of my body? Now, I personally think, looking back at this, at 12 years old, you shouldn't be scared if you are looking unattractive. You're 12, you're a literal child. But because I had been so sexualized from a young age, people seem to extremely like talking about sexual shit in secondary school. I don't even know why. I constantly feared that I was not being sexy enough, but I was also terrified of showing any skin whatsoever because of the traumatic event that happened to me. And it would go as far as people even looking at their butts and going, oh, they're not plump enough, oh, you're not attractive. You were literally 12. I was freaking 12. Like, why are we trying to look at ass and titties? Like, to be honest, it was so mentally draining, because I could tell you this, if I had the perfect pair of boobs and a plump ass and all that sort of shit, I would still been deemed unworthy because of my body weight. I guess it should be obvious that it did give me an emotionally tolling time. I did occasionally self-harm. I of course mentioned starving, but I also burned and cut and scratched and even tried to self-groom my skin, aka like skin picking, biting nails and all that sort of thing. I wanted to look perfect, and perfect wasn't attainable, so I would be demonizing myself for having pores. If I had any acne, I would feel like a failure. I'll be honest, I was all the time feeling low. I even started failing on personal hygiene departments with myself. People didn't even want to go near me because I smelled, and I wouldn't see the point in it. Like, I gave up on myself because I couldn't be perfect, so why even try being anything? I even had men bullying me for my boobs, saying I didn't deserve them and that they looked terrible, which, to be honest, like, I got a lot of my bullying from guys who thought I was ugly. I generally thought it would be mostly girls around me, but no, a lot of the time it was boys commenting constantly on my body. It made me feel really shit, and I even got put on this ugliest girls at school list, which kind of broke me up a little bit. I was a bit heartbroken. I told the other girls who were also on that list to watch out for the guy who posted it up online because it was fucked up for him to even do that. I started genuinely having enough, so I started developing anger issues on top of this and started lashing out at others who broke me, so much that my world was just falling apart. Now, when I first heard of the body positivity movement, it did make me feel nice to see people with my body actually bigger than me who are getting out there and showing themselves for who they were. It felt nice to see people say, you know what, fuck that shit, and just start showing themselves online. The fat acceptance movement, it actually hit me really hard as a teen growing up. I actually felt like people were treating people a little bit better, like human. And it just felt nice for people to not treat me like shit. Soon enough, I came to a realization that my body isn't made for others. It was made for me. I was so used to hearing that even my body belonged to God, or it belonged to please men around me, or it was made to be put on display. I fucking forgot the most important person that my body was made for was me. And soon enough, I found myself in a different pool of insecurity, and it wasn't just weight now, but it was with who I was as a person. Many people know I identify as non-binary, specifically bigender, because I feel deep down I want to see both the male and female in me. And I know it'll be confusing to hear that, but I truly do feel like both. Some days I would love my body, and other days I wish I could change it, just so it could feel right. Granted, at the time I didn't know about non-binary identities to the fullest extent, so I genuinely thought, oh god, I'm a male and I don't know what to do. And I was growing up with so many male figures that either let me down, disgusted me, or abused me, so I had a literal self-hatred towards men. And at the time, I confided only in my close friends and my partner, who thought I was a fucking idiot at the time. It hurt a lot. I came out and instantly getting shut down, and the only reason it's okay is that they're a much better person now. They've apologized to me for that and given me some closure for it. But then I came to realize that I just want to be both. I feel like both. I even spent days demonizing myself for even considering a part of me male, and I just felt so torn up. It also always pissed me off how suddenly people gained a PhD in medical school study just by looking at you. Like, man, I wish I had cool x-ray visions to look at people's organs and shit, looking at them like, maybe you wouldn't be like this if you weren't fat. Like, you know what? That fucking argument is legit a thing a doctor has said to me once. Before I found out I had a fucking hereditary lung condition. Like, if I did not pester him, I would have been left undiagnosed, and that's really fucked up. Not just for me, but if I ever had kids in the future for their health. I have seen way too many people with genuine health concerns be pushed away because of their weight, and that just breaks my heart. Like, that's an actual real issue people need to look at, because it happens more than people realize. So fast forward to the present, past the dysphoric bullshit of hell. Did I ever get better? I kinda did. I'm now taking care of my body more. I've been clean for a while now. I even stopped self-mutilating with my skin picking for years now. I sometimes still struggle with the nail biting, but to be honest, I even managed to stop that for a year one time, and I was just proud enough of that. I shower a lot more often. I try to clean myself more. Sometimes I do try to lose weight, and sometimes I gain it. I do still struggle time to time to eat. It's hard. It's an emotionally difficult journey, but I'm really proud that I never really gave up. I'm not saying I hadn't ever attempted. I did many times in the past. I even came close to at one point, but I'm here and I'm alive and I'm finally taking care of my body. For me, it took way too long for that to even happen. Obesity itself, it's something I struggle with, but it does hinder my health sometimes. I'm trying to lose weight, but I always remind myself to pause and take a moment to just appreciate the fact that I'm alive and I'm well and my body deserves its love too. It's very emotional care for me, and sometimes it's easier to say it, and sometimes it's really not. I've got many scars, marks. My body has probably been hurt inside as much as it was out, and I can still see me there in the reflection. Even when sometimes I feel alienated, even when sometimes I can't, I can still see her there trying her best. This is the moment where I shout out my dear partner, Kudojin, who helped me a lot with unlearning the toxic positivity that anorexia and obesity had both embedded into my soul from a young age. But sometimes I just feel like just telling people what hurt me, just telling my story, they can see why I struggled for a long time to understand that I should aim to be healthy and happy. Not skinny, not fat, not anorexic, not average. I need to be healthy, not a weight. Numbers are one of the things I still struggle to look at to this day. They can feel liberating when you're losing weight and wanting to, but they can be dreading when you lose it in an unhealthy manner, or when you gain it unhealthily too. I still remember when I started my previous weight loss journey. A healthy one, not based on self-demonization, but actually based on self-empowerment and love. And I noticed if I ever lost because of illness, I wouldn't celebrate the loss, because it wasn't a celebration to lose weight because I was ill. It was a sad moment for me. And I feel like people don't understand that sometimes. And I feel like fat people are demonized to glorify anorexia. And I feel like sometimes it can even happen vice versa. I still see so many people around me to this day who look at their weight with struggle. It's not easy. I can't pretend that I can make it better in a day. I can't pretend and promise that everything you ever wanted will happen. But we really only have one life. One life that we're here to live, to be ourselves, to love our life, to be with our families and friends, experience things that we want to experience. Now, this video did spring to my mind after watching Salem's video on the topic of body positivity and the movement no longer being positive anymore. So if you want to see an in-depth video essay on the issues of body positivity and its origins, even going into as why many people struggle to follow the movement to this day, please go check out their video. They always make incredible points, and they're always so in-depth and well prepared. So yeah, just go watch them. I really love watching their videos in my spare time, and this one did hit me on a personal and emotional level because of the context overall. I suppose the moral is that weight itself is still a struggle for me to this day. We should not be embedding it into children that what they can and can't be. We should be encouraging them, treating them with love and understanding to lure them to the best way to be healthy, a healthy way of living for that person. And I am sure I would have not gained as much weight as I did during school if people just didn't bully me for it, like period. I didn't even notice it at the time, but I'm glad as an adult I am finally giving myself the love I never gave myself as a child, trying to understand that it's okay to lose weight, and it's okay if I want to gain it too, as long as I'm doing it for a healthy reason and with positive intention for myself. Thank you for watching this video. It was quite a personal one this time. I know I went over quite a few triggering topics throughout this video, so please give yourself some self-love today or care. Just something nice for yourself. You deserve it after sitting through this. Please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more videos where I talk about myself or draw some cute art. I am always here somehow. Also, like I said, please make sure to check out Salem's video. They always hit the mark on so well. Like, their video essays are just great. Just honestly watch them. Thanks again. I'll see you all soon.